You lose an NFL center, and you lose. I know the left tackle just got drafted the other day. I think he was the #1 pick for the XFL. So you lose some really good players. So you're growing there. But I knew we had a good football team. So one, I wanted to make sure that we continue that, and we awarded the old guys. But I wanted these guys to come in the building. When you become a Red Raider, you understand that, like, the standard's not going to a bowl game. The standard's to, really fight your tail off to play in the Big 12 championship and try to win the Big 12. And so, you want that to be like almost a given that that's what we're going to do. And whenever you say that, it sure does help for them to believe that when you do it your very first year.
On Saturday, you kind of highlighted a couple, like on that note, that you play for the seniors. That's really kind of the point of making the bowl game for the older kind of defensive guys. But what does that mean for Tyler Shough, a guy that's kind of had adversity these past couple of years and kind of the season he's had? What does that mean for him to kind of lead the team to bowl eligibility?
Man, it means a lot, because the guy's been through some tough times. And, he comes out and he wins the job last year and he gets hurt against Texas, and then he comes out this year in very first game, he wins the job. And so I think it means a lot of what he's doing for the team, and it shows who he is. I mean, there's this day and age, there's so many people that would, crawl in a hole and feel sorry for themselves, and that guy hasn't. He's just been here every day and come to work. He was here late last night watching film and getting ready for OU and trying to finish off. I mean, it's senior night, and I get emotional talking about that, and I know I will on Saturday. But last game for these guys, we're going to wear black, red, black, in the traditional Texas Tech colors, and they're going to friggin' go out and play their last game on that field, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But it means a lot to me to try to send these guys out with that 7th win on their last time in that stadium. I think that's why it's so important for everybody to come back. These guys, they've done a lot. They've done a lot for this program.
Coach, going back to the final minute 40 there in Ames, what was the thought process putting the ball in Tyler's hands and then Donovan's hands when he probably could have just kneeled it out?
No, he couldn't kneel it out. If I'd have knelt it out, I promise you I'd have knelt it out. Time wouldn't allow us. We ran the plays. I mean, we have a chart. If y'all know anything about me, you can promise me that I promise you I have the numbers down to the very 10th of a second of when we could have done that. But why we did it with that is we didn't want to have any kind of issues with a handoff or anything like that. We put it in their hands, and that last one, Tyler's last run, he kind of got a knee to the thigh, and so we were like, okay, let's finish this with Donovan running the last one, and he'd done that in the game. And then once we could get to the seconds, I think at 120 was whenever we could nail it out, and I think it hit 120 and we nailed it out. So I mean, we knelt the ball. Trust me, that when they called a timeout, we were in deep discussion. We were getting it from the box that we could do it, or kind of back and forth, and Kitley was like, am I doing my math wrong? And we can take a knee right now. And I was like, we can, let's do it. So just not handing the ball off. I mean, the handoff, one, you got to get a snap, but two, you got the exchange, and there's no reason to do that whenever you got quarterbacks that can do what those guys can do with their feet.
Go ahead, Don.
Joey, speaking of late game offense, I was just looking here. Nehemiah, before the end of that game the other night, he had 3 catches like in the last 3.5 games, and he makes 2 big ones on the winning drive. What made that, I guess, his time? And Tyler talked about, I think it's Tyler, said that, he was bullying people on the outside. What made y'all decide at that point, okay, let's make these throws to him?
The throws, I mean, he was able to get open. He had 2 plays right there on that drive that it's just him being so physical, and not being taken down by one guy, especially the last one. He is kind of – we're trying the best we can to really take what these guys are giving us, and he had the going back to the sack, that was the one that kind of frustrating, is that we weren't taking what they gave us. And on that part, he was the one that was open, and then, he's a tough guy to tackle in the open field because he is going to be physical. I mean, that's going back to the spring. You see it and you keep seeing it. And, man, it was big for him, big for us to get that first down. And then he had a run after catch, after contact that was really big.
Also talking about the seniors again, you have a lot of these guys who have the decision to make on
Yep.
whether to come back. Do you have a feel yet for who among those guys is likely to be back here in 23?
No, there's a few that will be making decisions, after this game. I mean, there's some that, have said, like, I think Rabbit told everybody, that he's coming back. We expect Reggie Pearson back. And then there's some guys that, have to make the decision to come back, and the two interior D linemen, the two corners, they all have those decisions to make. And so it's funny. We would probably already know if it wasn't for COVID, but everybody's seen multiple senior nights by the same guy. And so, like, when I talk to my guys, I encouraged them to do senior night. I said, look, I don't want it to be coming in the spring or coming in February or whenever you could declare, and then you miss out on, let's just say, take example, Boog or Tony. They've done so much for this university that they deserve it. And so it's like, even if they come back and whether they do one and they do another one next year, I don't want to miss the opportunity, for them to be able to do that. And so it was funny because whenever I said, hey, look, do whatever you want to do, called them in my office. I mean, I know you still got a decision to make, and they laugh. They go, Coach, we've seen guys do a couple of them, so we're really not worried about it. We're going to go ahead and do it. And so it's up to them. The one thing that I've told every one of these guys, and that was the very first time I met them, and we had one-on-one meetings, is I told them, I said, I will never ask a player to come back when they're supposed to come out, because I think that is really cheating the player and puts some – it happens every year. We see it every year that there's guys across the country that should have come out, and they got talked into coming back, and they either don't have the year that they're supposed to have and they drop, or they get injured or whatever it is, and I don't believe in that. If they get a grade to where they should come out and change their lives, I don't know many first jobs that even NFL minimum you're going to make that right out of college. And so I really believe. So we try to give them as much information as we can. Sammy Morris is really big in that part with the NFL scouts, and we'll be meeting throughout the week, and then we'll give the families as much information we can, and then let them decide what they want to do.
Also, you said last year, before you coached a game here, that you were interested in using the transfer portal specifically to bring Texas players back home.
Yep.
Right now, your defense has, JP, Marquise Waters, Rashad Williams, Reggie Pearson, Malik Dunlap, all starting, making big contributions for you, and those are guys who came from other Power 5 conferences who are not from Texas. Has what you've seen from those guys and how they fit in here, has that changed your mind at all on how you might use the transfer portal? In other words, would you be more willing to go coast to coast as opposed to the Texas guys?
It's tough. Not really from the standpoint of, again, we want to be a program that is very limited in the portal. We want to be a program that grows the kids that we recruit, and they're with us for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I guess it's 3, 4, 5 years because you can come out after your third year. And then the portal to me is if you either have a really young position and a guy comes out early, going to get that guy. So if he's from a different place and we can get him here and he's the best available, we would do that. I think the guys you're talking about, they're just really good football players, and they ended up at Texas Tech, and the staff before us did a good job of recruiting them. The other thing that they did is they recruited some really good kids that fit in. I think that's a big part of it too. Like Ty Buchanan coming here, man, he's a great fit. Now, he's from Texas, so that's a good thing, but he's a great fit. I mean, you want to make sure you're bringing guys in, and this was freshmen included, that you feel like will fit in your culture. Freshmen are a little bit different because you're going to grow them in your culture, but older guys, I think still older guys, if they come in, it's more of a need based deal, and that goes from like probably who's best and who fits. So we'll look at guys that want to come back to Texas if it's somebody in the portal, but it'd be more need based. Hopefully, if that's what we can do, that's the plan. That's why we're signed so many high school kids last year, and why we're signing the number we're signing this year.
All right. Is there anything else? All right. We'll have Coach Brewer there in a minute.
All right, thank y'all. Y'all have a great Everybody good? We'll start with Sean Dillon on your right.
I'll wait for Don. Coach, talk about the impact Tyree Wilson has made on this team and your thoughts after his announcement.
Well, you can look at the stat line, and it's self-evident. You know, he was one of the leading sack guys, pressures. He was there with Will Anderson with all those stats. But to me, it was more than just the stats. He played and practiced hard. He set a standard for defensive linemen for here, and I think he's just going to leave a really high standard that as we look for edge defenders, that's going to be the gold standard that we're looking for.
You can develop talent, but you can't teach heart. Talk about the heart of this Red Raider team and the defense.
Well, I've been impressed all year long. When you have a philosophy as a team that you're going to go for it on fourth down, you have to have resilient guys on defense, because as many good things as happens when you go for it, you're not going to get every one of them. We all understand that. I think average football players, the normal football player, it's like a turnover. You go out, oh, we didn't get it. Your spirits go down. Our guys have bought into, hey, we're the fire department. If there's a fire, we're there to put it out. And you can hear our guys on the sidelines say it whenever there is a turnover, whenever there is a turnover on downs, if we don't get it on fourth down. And there's a resilience to them. You look at what we've done in the red zone all year long. It's one of our big emphasis that we've had since spring. Coach does a drill red zone lockout, and it's one of the things we pride ourselves in, making offense kick or take it away or stop them on downs. And I think it's just really indicative of the kind of heart, the kind of love for each other in our program that they have. They fight as hard as they do when their backs are up against it.
Coach, you speak about that resiliency of the defense, specifically the defensive line. What stood out to you about their performance on Saturday?
Well, you look at the first two inside guys, Tony and J-Boog, those guys play extremely hard. They're 290 whatever pounds, 300 and whatever pounds. It's hard to do that over a long period of time, yet they do. Coach Fitch and Coach Ayud are doing a really good job of developing younger guys to spell them, but there is a drop-off between those guys because they're playing at a really high level right now. I was impressed, though, with guys like Joseph Adedire, who had to play with Tyree going down. He came in as a freshman and did really some good things. Isaac Smith came in and had to do some things and gave us some quality downs as an edge guy. And that's football. They've got to step up when someone else is down, and we've been preaching that all year long, and it's really pleasing to see when guys listen to it, and not just listen to it, but actually go out on the field and perform.
Saturday is senior day, and a lot of those guys have a lot of decisions to make, whether they come back or not. But what legacy have those guys left on this team, and whether they decide to come back or not?
Well, I think the story's still being written. Even through this week. This is the first back-to-back bowl team in the last 10 years or so for Texas Tech. We have an opportunity to beat Texas and OU in the first season, or in the same season for the first time, I think, ever. To have a winning record in the Big 12 for the first time in a long time. I mean, all those kind of things. But I think even bigger than that is when our fans see our guys play, I hope anyways, they see a different attitude from our defense, that the guys, especially our seniors, have set a standard that we are going to play hard. We're not always going to play perfect, but we are going to play hard and bust our tail for each other no matter the circumstance. And I think people see that and appreciate, you know, the fact that our guys are doing that.
Justin and Carlos and Jeff on your right.
Okay.
Coach, on the 4th and goal and the 4th and short inside the 5, what were you feeling, and how was your confidence in the defense?
Well, you know, you call certain calls that we've practiced a bunch. You know, down there, they're either going to run the ball inside. If they think you're pinching, maybe you'll see outside runs, or you're going to see some type of play action. And we have a few different calls that give us an advantage. And you've got to kind of not guess with it, but, you know, play the percentages of what you think. And I thought our guys executed really, really well in those circumstances and refused to stay blocked. You know, on the play action, I thought, you know, Mudd and JP did a great job of creating edge pressure, making the quarterback step up, and Tony did a great job of getting off his block and finishing on the quarterback. On the run, I think they misblocked it, but JP had a great get off and beat the block and got up the field to, you know, to make the play on the power run that was supposed to go into the boundary. We practice those things all the time. And so to see our guys go into the situation and execute, because you don't always practice goal line. You know, you practice it every week, not knowing if you even have a situation to call it. But our guys did it, and we had some new guys in there. You know, Miles Cole had to go in for Tyree being out, and he did a really nice job as well.
Last week I asked you about all corners. You were without one. What did you think about Adrian Fry and Kobe Minor this week?
I think Adrian made plays in that game Saturday that, you know, we talked about this over the weekend. Had he not been there to make those plays, I don't know if we beat those guys. Made some critical tackles. The one goal line stand, the 1st and goal, I think it was the 1st and goal, they got about a 6 or 7 yard run that they had us schemed up pretty good. They're making a corner make a lot of tackles down those situations. He stood in there and made a strong tackle, got it down about the 1.5 yard line. If he doesn't make that tackle, and most corners aren't going to make that play, we never have a chance to have that goal line stand. And it's a different ball game if that happens. He had other plays. You know, I think it was the first play of the game. They ran, you know, a formation where they cracked, and now he's got a crack replace. He put his, you know, hat on the ball and took the running back. It just really shows how important it is to him. Now, he had an opportunity to have an interception that would have made it a lot nicer and probably a lot more or a lot less stressful had he made that play. But he's just indicative of the heart of our seniors in particular, a guy that was a starter, played a lot of really good ball for us, played well early till he got hurt. Now Malik and Rashad do some really good things and couldn't quite get his position back because he wasn't quite 100%. How can I get on the field, Coach? Well, we need you to, you know, back up Mudd at the star. We need a boundary safety. We also need you to know how to play corner. And he took it all in and played special teams and never complained. And then when Saturday came and his time was up, he was there to make plays. And it's really gratifying as a coach to see a guy to have that attitude and then have that success, that kind of success, and how it really made a difference in the ball game for us.
Coach, I know you talk a lot about the guys making a difference, especially with Tyree out. Miles Cole, one of the ones that you just mentioned. Can you just speak to his motor in that second quarter? I believe it was halfway through, and it looked like they had a touchdown, and he got that holding call on him. Can you just speak to the motor and just what he was able to do in that game?
Yeah, he's got a lot of raw ability that I think he's just scratching the surface on. Between Coach Ayu and Coach Fitch, those guys are really coaching him hard. And the thing I love about him is he loves hard coaching. He wants to be coached hard to get that ability out of him. On that play, he was slanting and he was working an edge. And he's so long, he's probably similar numbers-wise to Tyree. Now, he doesn't have his experience yet, but as far as physical attributes, we get a bunch of pro scouts come out here, and when they don't know Tyree yet and they see him and they're wondering, is that Tyree? And it's like, no, that's the next one. And if he'll keep developing, I think he's got a chance to be a Sunday player like Tyree. He's got some work to do, and he's willing to do it. But I really like how our coaches are getting him ready for that.
In terms of just the fourth down stops and the turnover on downs, I guess what does that say about your team being able to get those type of stops when you really need it, especially against a team in Iowa State that was, in desperation mode at that point?
I think it's just really indicative of where our heart is as a defense. Our guys expect to be good. Our guys expect to make plays in those situations. Doesn't mean we're going to make them. I mean, we got to play hard, and hopefully, good fortune goes our way. But they're not going to blink. They're not going to shy away from those situations that in the moment, whoever it is has to make a play, will make a play. And to see guys like JP step up and, both those edge guys come up on the pass play and then Tony having to finish it off, it's fun to watch those guys really grow in my mind as a defense. I talked at the beginning of the year with these guys. We can be at times as good as any defense in this conference. We have not been near consistent enough. I haven't done a good enough job of getting them there. But at times, we can play with anybody in this conference, I think.
How do you prepare for a team like Oklahoma when they have had such an up-and-down type season where it's win 3 games, look like they're on top of the world, lose 3 games where you feel like they're going to lose to everybody, and then just kind of a back-and-forth, up-and-down season?
Well, as a coach, you don't look at it that way. I look at what they've done on offense. You can throw out probably the Texas game where they had some injuries and they didn't have their starting quarterback. But you look at what they do from a schematic standpoint, the stress they put on you, the skill that they have, the offensive line that's really big and athletic. I think they've got another one of those premier Big 12 running backs. He's certainly in the top, 3 or 4 running backs in this league. They've got a really athletic tight end that they'll run fly sweeps to. They'll put him in the wildcat formation. Mims is a heck of a receiver. They've got a lot of weapons. And then Coach Levy, with what they do, you go back to Ole Miss, it's really that Art Briles Baylor spread offense that he was driving everybody nuts with. And he went to Central Florida and did great things there. You look at what that staff from Central Florida is doing at Tennessee, and they're running a very similar offense, and they're driving people nuts with it. It's a very balanced system. It's not an air raid or traditional air raid, throw it all the time. They really want to run the ball to set up, their vertical passing game. And it stresses a lot of people, stresses me. And we've got to really play well, have our eyes disciplined, and do a great job of hopefully, disguising coverage.
I don't have the numbers on this. I wish I did, but I can't imagine it's a lot of coaching staffs that have come in on their first year after a coaching change because of poor performance in the year before and made a bowl game in their first year. What's it mean to you and your staff to be a part of that here?
Well, obviously it's gratifying to get these guys, to a bowl game. I think preseason, we never looked at it this way other than we had a little chip on our shoulder that people picked us 9th in the conference. Now, we understand it. I mean, we played, I don't know how many top 25 teams. Preseason, we were probably underdogs in about 10 games. But none of our guys worried about that kind of stuff. They knew that if we played what we were capable of, we could compete for a conference championship. And everybody believed that. Now, we get some guys injured. I mean, those things happen. It's football. We didn't play as consistently as what I would have liked to. But our guys have a resilience to them that we talk about a Fido mentality. Forget it and drive on. And they've really bought into that as well, that I don't care what happened last series, let's go out there. I go back to the TCU game where they get their first touchdown, then we got to go right back out, in a 4th down situation. We don't do well. We let them, get a big play on us and score. And I believe they scored again. We go out another time on a short field, and it would have been really easy to give in. And our guys found a way to get a 4th down stop and get off the field. That's who, in my mind, that's who this team is. That's what I'm going to remember about this senior class in particular. And it's quite a testament to them and a legacy that they were a team that made people in Lubbock think about defense again. And I think it's a great testament to Coach McGuire getting that mentality to where we're not afraid to say we can be a defensive team and an offensive team.
We'll go next to David Collier, followed by Jarrett.
Coach, Jeff kind of talked about it, and you discussed it a little bit, but
Which is the Oklahoma offense? The one that played in the first quarter against Oklahoma State this past weekend, or the one that played the rest of the game?
They're probably saying the same thing. Or is this the same defense that played the first half at TCU or the fourth quarter? You know, when you're a first-year staff, sometimes, you know, things aren't always as consistent as you want. When you look at that first half, I mean, they're an explosive offense, showed all the things that they're capable of. Obviously, Oklahoma State's going to make some adjustments, and they did. That's football. We're going to try to do some things to hopefully get them not feeling comfortable. Because I think when that offense is in a rhythm and they're comfortable, they can score points in a hurry and have big-time explosive plays. We can't let them get into that comfort zone.
What's something you can do to kind of rattle Dillon Gabriel and maybe speak to what he's done in his year there?
I don't know. There's not a whole lot of people that have rattled him. You know, TCU, I think it was TCU knocked him out. Other than that, I mean, the guy's played a lot of football. He's played in the system under Coach Levy for a long time, so he understands where the ball is supposed to be, given certain coverages, when to throw on time. He's really athletic, so he adds that dimension of quarterback run game as well as extending time in the pocket. So it's a, you know, matchup nightmare at times, because you got to decide, are you going to play single high coverage and play man and hopefully hold up outside and be sound in the box, or are you going to play too high and be light in the box, and then you're going to invite them to run? Can you stop the run? And that's the rub, and that's what they've done to people all year long, and it's a tough challenge, and we got to try to somehow, you know, manage it to where they don't feel comfortable. What are they in?
You've got Krishan and Kosai for Oklahoma and then the bowl game. How well do you feel like you've prepared some of the younger guys like Jacob Rodriguez to kind of step up in their roles next season?
I think Jacob and Tyreek both have made tremendous strides during this year. One of the things I think we do a good job of is consistently doing individual where we're working on fundamentals of the game. We don't have a brand new defense every week. We tweak things, we'll game plan some things, but there's certain fundamental things that we do that carry over week to week. How we tackle, how we go after footballs. In those guys, you can see the angles that they're taking get better all the time. Their eyes are getting better all the time. I don't want to lose, you know, Krishan and Kosai, and hopefully, knock on wood, we'll have them through the bowl game and they'll stay healthy. But I feel very comfortable about Jacob and Tyreek both.
We'll finish with Don.
You know what? I was going to ask you about Jacob because we forgot to ask Joey when he was talking about players who are back and players who are out. You know, if his ankle's going to see him be able to play this week, Jacob.
I haven't talked to our trainers. I hope so. I anticipate him playing. He was in the training room yesterday. We had a light practice, but I'm not sure what his status is just yet.
Also on Muddy Waters again for a moment. You've talked a lot. We've talked obviously a lot about Tyree and you having Coach Von Miller and having Coach Kayvon Thibodeau. Is there a comp for Muddy among players that you have coached maybe at that position? I mean, he has 11 and a half tackles for loss now.
Yeah, no, he's really unique. I had a guy, Sean Porter, but Sean was more of a linebacker at A&M that made a lot of plays similar, but he couldn't cover like Mud. I've had some other guys that were really good cover guys at Cal that were nickel guys, but they were more cover guys, and we didn't blitz them as much. No, he's as good, and we knew coming into this season that he was a guy that could make big plays for us. He was a hybrid guy that we didn't have to change and get into a 3-4 linebacker because he could play that, not because he was big enough, you know, he wasn't a 6'4", 250 guy, but he's slippery enough and he's got short area quickness and burst. You saw it the other day, you know, he slips the tight end underneath and gets a big time tackle for loss for us to help us down in the red zone. That's the kind of ability he has. And then when he rushes off an edge, he got the holding penalty on late in the series. If he doesn't get held, he's got another sack. He's really impressive that way. I tell the scouts all the time, I think he reminds me of Jalen Petrie and how Baylor used him a year ago. That's probably the biggest comparison I can make. But not, you know, not that I coached him, but I think his effect on a game is what Mudd does for us on Saturdays.
Notice it more because of how much success he's had rushing the passer. Have you had a breakdown or sense for how much you have him rushing
percentage of pressure versus how many times he comes?
Versus how much time he spends in coverage.
I don't have it here in front of me. I can get Ryan on it for us.
Your general feeling for?
Yeah, typically, we'll mix it up on normal down and distance. Your 1st and 10, 2nd and mediums, where he might, and it's really by game plan. So I don't look at it all the same. If we're playing somebody that I think we need field pressure, we're going to bring him. We'll also disguise with him and bring things from the backside. So I'd have to look at the numbers. I couldn't tell you right now, Don. Sorry.
Let's wrap it up right there, and we'll bring in Coach Kittley.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, Iowa State scores, you guys have to answer. Talk about the heart that this team has to have to go down, make the plays, and then go down and know that they're going to win and be bowl eligible.
Yeah, I mean, the resiliency of this football team is awesome. It's clearly it was tough sledding for us pretty much all night, and our defense played unbelievable and kept us in the game the whole time. And the one time where their offense went down there and scored, we had to go answer, and we did that. So, clearly proud of our guys. And, we got into a rhythm on that drive, and kind of like the other one that we had, we just were in a rhythm there. And whenever we were in a rhythm, we're a lot better than whenever we just get stagnant on some of those deals. So, again, proud of our guys. We answered the bell there and had a great drive there to end the game. And even the last drive, just being able to get that 4-minute offense and get that one first down to win the game, I thought was great by our guys to get that done.
Talk about the Oklahoma defense. What do you see from them, and what are you going to have to do to attack them to be successful this weekend?
Yeah, they're very, very multiple, probably the most multiple defense we've seen. Coach Venables is clearly known as one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. And, they kind of started the year doing a little bit of the Iowa State, Kansas State 3-deep safety, high structure deal, which to my knowledge is not really in his background. In these last 2 to 3 weeks, they've started to play a lot better defense, going kind of back to his basic stuff that they were doing there at Clemson. But they're very multiple. They're a high pressure team. They're going to blitz you a lot. Simulated pressures as well as full, 6-man pressures with cover 1 or even cover 0 in the back end. So we got to do a great job in pass protection, communicating, knowing where the point is at running backs being ready to get in there in pass protection, receivers seeing hot routes and seeing those and breaking those routes off when they need to break them off. So, but they're very multiple. There's not a whole lot of tendencies with these guys. They're going to heat you up and play some crazy coverages in the back end and start safeties on the line of scrimmage and bail them out to play deep quarters and stuff like that. So we just got to have a good game plan and try to just play fundamental football and not overdo it. We just got to try to get into good football plays and get in a rhythm and use some tempo again and try to just, get those running backs the ball early and see what we can do from there.
We got Justin and then David and Carlos.
Yeah, Coach, I asked McGuire about this, but what was your thought process in the last minute 40 there, getting the ball in Donovan and Tyler's hands?
Yeah, we had been told from the box that we needed to keep running the football, and whenever the quarterback is running the football, you add an extra blocker. And so at that point in the game, they're going to go cover 0 and they're going to bring everybody downhill. So that's just a schematic advantage that you give your team, especially when you have quarterbacks like Tyler and Donovan who are great runners of the football. And same thing, you're taking a little bit of a less risk with a run mesh of possibly fumbling that as well. So, we weren't quite to where we could get in victory formation yet. So we just felt like put the ball in those two guys' hands, and some stuff that we've had a lot of success at over the years, and our guys are comfortable with that. Plays we've repped a million times that we just felt like we get that one first down to be able to get in victory formation there.
Thoughts on Caleb Rogers' play over the weekend?
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better. Again, I think you go watch the last 3 to 4 games, and Caleb's continued to improve. We had the one sack that, again, to the naked eye looks like that was on him, but really that's on my position at quarterback. We got to get the ball out faster. They had us covered up. The check down was there. We got to get the ball out of our hands to eliminate that sack. Again, that's a -5 play that gets you in a second long, which is a tough deal. So, but no, Caleb's getting better week by week, and again, being able to have some continuity there, and his confidence is going up, which is huge as well.
A woe is me question, but is this the most difficult year you've had as an offensive coordinator? I can't imagine many people have had 3 different quarterbacks start 4 games for them in a season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough, for sure. But the good thing is again, I'm surrounded with a great staff, and I got good quarterbacks in my room. Clearly it's not ideal to have 4 different guys start 4 games apiece. I'd be interested to see how many players have ever had that kind of happen to them. But it's been a great year though. At the end of the day, we're bowl eligible, and I was here again for 5 years, and we won a lot of games, scoring 40+ points a game, and we're 5-7 and some stuff like that. So I'll take the 14-10 win any day of the week. But again, it's been a great year so far, for sure.
Coach, can you just speak to, I guess, maybe that tempo or that rhythm you got into? Was it a matter of just getting Taj into a rhythm, running the football, or just overall running the football? And how big were Taj and Nehemiah in those sequences for you?
Yeah, mainly, when you look back at the tempo, it's really always starts with that first down, and you go back to the start of the game. We have a big 3rd down conversion and we fumble. The next drive, you start the second play of the drive with a bad snap, and so now you're in 3rd and long, and some stuff like that just really hurts your rhythm and trying to get in a groove. And you go back to those couple drives where we were in a rhythm. Taj made some huge runs, but again, we caught him in what we kind of thought we could, and we got into some tempo runs, and he popped 2 runs for, I want to say it was 17 yards on 2 carries, doing some tempo run package. So that was great by him. And then, Nehemiah had the 2 big catches down the sideline. Again, just lining up fast. And Tyler did a great job of spitting him a screen out there with Baylor Cup. That was Henry Teeter blocking for him. Came right back to a tempo vertical shot. Unbelievable catch by him. We had him caught in 12 men on the field as well. So just two big plays right there by Nehemiah. And then again, we just felt like getting back down there, and Taj had a couple good carries. So let's get him involved again. Had the big catch down the sideline. Just everything was just kind of clicking on that drive really when we needed to have that happen. So that was huge for us.
Before, but I guess how many times have you all repped the touchdown to Baylor where you have Donovan there, and obviously he's a little bit of a decoy, so to speak, or another option to kind of throw the ball to?
Yeah, we repped it all week. I'd probably say we got 10 to 15 reps at it throughout the week. We get a lot of reps in this offense, so able to rep that, and Donovan is such a special talent himself. There's a lot of things that he can do, so you're going to see him again this week in a lot of different facets of the game. And so we got a lot of reps at it, and it was just honestly an unbelievable catch by Baylor there at the end.
The season game planning for other defenses, but what have you seen from Tech's own defense? And obviously last game they stepped up big.
Yeah, Coach Ruud and those guys, man, they're awesome. They're playing great. How they play the game with physicality and they fly around. We had a cut up yesterday of watching as a whole team in here some of the plays that those guys made defensively that were just unbelievable. Again, I think that starts first and foremost back with Coach McGuire when he got here and talked about the brand of football that we want to play, and our guys buying into that. And they've done a tremendous job. Again, best defense I've been around here at Texas Tech for sure, and I think that's just going to keep climbing.
It's 10 straight losses to Oklahoma. You were obviously here on the staff for a couple of those losses. How present is that streak, I guess, in your mind going into Saturday?
Be honest with you, I haven't really thought about it. Just trying to find a way to beat them. It's the most important game of the season because it's this week, and that's just kind of the way we're approaching it.
Thanks, Coach.